gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up? What's going on, boxing fans and friends? Welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. And I am your host, Mark Roxey, and I'm joined today with my good friend and partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you doing is the question.
Oh, man, I'm great, man. What a weekend of boxing.
You got that right. It has been a weekend of boxing, and oh, man, so much has happened this weekend. I'll tell you what, I curled up on my couch. I didn't go out to any fights, not unlike you. I know you were at the fights, but I didn't go out to any fights. I just curled up on my couch and had like a fiesta, bro. I just like, it was like watching like the NFL football Sunday, a weekend where you just don't get off your couch at all. And yeah, I just really had a great time this weekend. So I'm delighted to see you, and I'm delighted to be with all of you out there listening in. If you're listening in on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcast, thank you for joining us. It means the world to us. We really we're really excited that you're with us, and please feel free to share the show. We are trying to make sure that this podcast gets into the hands of everybody. So, share it. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification so that when we do go live like we are today, that you are able to get notified and you can join in and share your comments and just kind of, be with us on the podcast. So we're really trying to build that connection. Right, Harold?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, what I can say is that the weekend was so exciting. And what I wanted to do is talk to you a little bit about the Tank Gevontay Davis fight against Mario Barrios, and just really talk about how exciting that fight was and how unexpected that fight was. And actually, what I'm going to do, let me see if I can add my boy, Dwayne Fenn. Dwayne, are you there? So here we are. We are talking about, the first thing we're going to chop up is the Gevontay Davis versus Mario Barrios fight that took place this weekend. I'm sure the Boxing Breakdown listeners have seen the fight. If you haven't seen the fight, you missed a really, really amazing fight. So, Coach D, what did you think of the fight?
Wow, Coach. Well, first of all, it's always good to hear your voice. Being here with you and Harold, it's always a pleasure. I enjoy you guys. Hey.
Yeah.
Boxing is back, bro. And it sounds, and I'm excited about just the fights that are in the pipeline to be made. Last night was a great fight with Gevontay. And we talked about this a little bit prior to, and I told you I was very concerned about, Gevontay having the possibility of losing this fight. And what I was trying to figure out was what did Floyd and his team see that made them okay with taking this fight, jumping 2 weight classes, a guy who's an excellent fighter in his own right. I mean, you take a peek at his record. I mean, the guy's no joke. He has an excellent, going to be a Hall of Fame trainer in Virgil Hunter. And I just was trying to analyze, why would they take this dangerous fight? I looked at this fight as being a close to a 50-50 fight. I gave Tank in certain advantages, but I really thought that this was a dangerous fight for those guys to take. And I thought that if it went the distance, I thought that Barrios would win. Now, that's before me seeing the fight. I thought that Barrios would win because I thought Tank would have a hard time trying to find him. You know, as a coach, one of the hardest things to do, to teach a fighter to do, is to manipulate that step and a half, right? How are we going to manipulate that step and a half? And I've never seen Gevontay having to do that. So I was concerned that he wouldn't be able to do that. And Barrios will be putting rounds in the bag. And if Tank didn't get I got a chance to get close enough to punish him, that this fight could easily go the other way. And we wasn't too far off. We really wasn't too far off, because in the earlier rounds, I thought Barrios was ahead. So I was very pleased to see Tank have the mental capacity, because that's what this was really about. This was about it was really about, did he have the patience to stick to a game plan and be aware of where he was at in that particular fight and be able to do the things that he needed to do. This was a mental win, just as well as it was a physical win, and that's for me what was very, very impressive. The fact that his boxing IQ was illustrated in this fight as well.
Yeah, and when you say you're speaking about Gevontay Davis.
Gevontay Davis, yeah. Gevontay Davis' boxing IQ was illustrated in this fight. That's what was really impressive to me.
And you make a good point, because if you look at it on paper, Harold, I'd love to know what you think. I mean, on paper, Mario Barrios is 26-1. He just suffered his first loss, with 17 wins coming by way of KO, and Gevontay Davis is 25-0 with 24 KOs. So coming into this fight, I agree with you, Coach. I also felt that Gevontay Davis could have a difficult fight on his hands, especially with the height advantages and the reach advantages, and knowing that this guy, can box. He's a good boxer. So that being said, I don't know about you guys, but I hadn't seen that much of Mario Barrios prior to this fight. Had either one of you seen a lot of his footage?
Yes, I've seen him. I have a different opinion from both of you all.
Okay,
Harold, to me,
Harold said he's seen it, so Harold's going to talk a little bit about that. Go ahead, Harold.
My opinion is completely opposite. It was a gimme, easy fight for Tank. Easy fight. There are so many holes in Barrios' style. It was easy. Yes, he was winning some rounds, but the skill set was showing through clearly. Barrios, to me, was slow. He squared up. They wouldn't have chose him if they didn't think Tank could beat him. As you all know, height, weight, length, reach means nothing if your skill set is on point, period. So to me, that was a gimme fight, an easy fight. He knew he was going to win it. They all knew he was going to win that fight. So I wasn't worried whatsoever at no time about that fight.
Right.
It was just a matter of, kind of like you said, the mental aspect of it. Because he said himself, he could have got the guy out a lot earlier, but he just didn't really know what was coming back at him because the guy was so big physically. But he realized his skill set was so above his, he went ahead and turned the lights off. So I was not even worried or nothing. That was an easy fight.
Let me ask you something, Harold, or Dwayne for that matter, either one of you. When you see that, like in watching the fight, I mean, for the first 5 rounds, he threw like 11, 12, 13 punches, something like that. I mean, he threw very little. He, meaning Gevontay Davis, threw very little amounts of punches. And the punches he was throwing later on in the fight were not really connecting. So at no point during the fight did either one of you get a little concerned that he's behind the scorecards, he's not going to be able to win this fight? Or
for me, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, I had Barrios ahead on when I was scoring the fight. I thought Barrios was winning. I thought that I think when I was watching a Tank trying to find, I think he was in this particular fight. I think he was a little concerned about trying to figure out Barrios. He was trying to figure out what Barrios' strengths were. Trying to find a way to get in. So there was a couple of things that I've seen him try to do. He was trying to, I heard, for example, Virgil Hunter was telling Barrios to throw the right hand to the chest, right? Now, Barrios didn't throw the right hand to the chest, but I knew why he didn't throw the right hand to the chest, because Gevontay was trying to pull the right hand. So he was taking a quarter of a step back, taking a small pullback,
right?
So he can get. He was trying to land that left hand on a pullback. He was trying to draw Barrios in, so he can get that counter in, right? So he was trying little tricky things to try to get to try to be careful, trying to maneuver it, but at the same time trying to be aggressive, but trying to maneuver the attack, right? So he was overthinking it, right? He was overthinking it because he had so much respect for Barrios. He had a lot of respect for Barrios, right? And so later on in the fight, when he started getting warmed up and he started getting a little bit more aggressive, that's when all the good things start happening. But initially,
he lost the respect.
I think he was in his own head about trying to figure out Barrios, and he had a lot of respect for Barrios, and he didn't want to get caught with anything big and get hurt with anything. I really believe that's what one of his problems. He was kind of overthinking it a little bit.
I got that. So Harold, you
Mark,
were going to say something.
Can Dwayne hear me? Can Dwayne hear me at all?
He can hear you. Go ahead, Harold.
Dwayne.
I guess he's unable to hear you.
Yeah, he can't hear me.
Nope. Go ahead. Run it, Harold, and then I'll pass it to him.
Okay. I agree with what he said, that Tank is trying to figure out the guy so he can be successful. But he took a long time to do so, and he gave away rounds trying to figure that out. So I believe in the future, he'll figure it out and just go for it. This was his first time fighting a man that high up in weight.
Right.
And he realized he could take the punch and he could fight with him on a level where weight was not a factor. Once he realized that, he turned the show off. Yeah. So that's what I saw. He was just trying to figure it out. Now, going forward, I don't think he'll ever do that again. If he stays there or whatever, he's not going to have any intrepidation with the weight or the reach or the height of anybody at 140.
Right.
He won't, because he knows he can take it and he can take them out. So if he fights anybody else at that weight, he'll be the usual Tank where he'll take them out, quickly.
Right. So, I mean, the masterful part of the whole fight, I mean, I don't know what you guys, I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this particular point, but the masterful part of the fight was later in the fight when he ends the fight and he's stepping, coach, he's stepping to the left. And as he steps all over to the left, he pops a little jab up the middle, and then he loops the hook around the corner as he steps back to the right from the southpaw guard. I thought that was beautiful how he was able to manage that. And then he comes back and he baits him, opens him up a little with a counter, with a little pokey right hook, and then throws the left straight in and finishes the fight. I thought that his finish was absolutely beautiful. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Coach, I couldn't hear Coach Harold, so just kind of read a digest version of what he said so I can kind of pick up what he was saying.
Now, he just reiterated what you said. I mean, he basically said what you said and in a different way. I think it was pretty clear to the listeners what he was trying to say.
But here's the thing. So, Coach, I agree with Coach. You know, it is. You know, to fight. Look, there's a couple of things we always talk about. Trainers and everybody drinking their Kool-Aid, right? Right. Here's the thing that I would be concerned about with Gevontay, right? Obviously, the kid is very talented. But if he wouldn't have knocked Barrios out, and they went to a decision, and Barrios would have done some of the things that he was supposed to do, maybe change, you know, had a little bit more. And the reason why I say that is because earlier what I stated to you was I was trying to figure out what Floyd and them seen, and this is what I believe they seen. They knew Gevontay was fast as far as hand speed is concerned, right? So Barrios' hand speed is slower than Gevontay, right? But here was the big thing that I think they seen, Coach. I think they seen that Barrios will give up his height, okay? And that at some point in the fight, Barrios would actually help them get to where they needed to be, right?
Right.
And as the fight went on, what you'll see is that's part some of the combinations that he was throwing. I wouldn't have had him throw those combinations because they were just bad combinations. They put him in pretty bad positions, right, to be countered, right? So here's and I say this understanding that fighting a tall fighter is one of the most difficult things that a boxer have to do. Yeah. They have to learn how to manipulate that step and a half. The point I'm making here is, though, I've seen Tank get behind on fights before, and they have to ask themselves, hey, there's a possibility you're not going to be able to knock out everybody. I need to understand why you're not putting these rounds in the bank.
That's a good question.
Why we need to have a conversation about, I want to see you win rounds, right? And I've seen him, lose too many rounds. That makes me feel a little uncomfortable about, him fighting some of these other guys who's not going to, who is just as high, so they need to be concerned about that, almost the same way where you had a Deontay Wilder, where you're knocking out everybody, right? But you take a look at he's losing rounds, right? And I'm like, this guy is losing a lot of rounds. And if he didn't knock out some of these people, we have to have a question about what's happening here that we're not able to carry a fight by putting rounds in the bank, not just waiting to see if we can get in a position to knock somebody out. That's something that you're going to probably see them work on. He's going to have to get his punch numbers up a little bit. His punch numbers are too low.
Well, just to speak to that point, especially for the people who are listening in on Apple Podcast, or whatever podcast they get, the one thing that everyone should know is that in the final half of the fight, the second half of the fight, So, for example, the final 6 rounds of the fight, Davis landed 85 punches. That's what he landed. And out of those 85 punches, he landed basically about 50%, 50% of his power punches, right? So he landed 82 out of 182 in the fight. That's pretty outstanding considering that happened in the second half of the fight.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think the strategy, is probably more of a strategic, more of a strategic thing than anything else. And actually it kind of brings me to the next topic on the, that I like to talk about, which is the Vasily Lomachenko fight against Masayoshi Nakatani. Because in that fight, there was a similar strategy from Lomachenko in that he spoke at a post fight conference, and he was saying that the team decided, his father decided that they were going to be second in the fight, that they weren't going to be first, which is kind of a similar strategy. If you were to compare the two fights, there was a similar strategy there for Tank in the first half of the fight. Thoughts? Anybody have any thoughts?
Well, considering the
Harold?
the strategy,
Yeah, Harold's going.
we pretty much have nailed that down. The Lomachenko strategy was he was taking advantage of the Japanese fighter's aggressiveness, and he was countering, which is definitely in his wheelhouse of expertise.
Right.
And he stopped him because he used his own aggression against him. So I thought that was well done. And he had no intrepidation of being hurt by the Japanese gentleman. So therefore, he came to him off the jump. So that was a cerebral win, as Coach Dwayne said earlier. The Lomachenko was a cerebral win because he knew exactly what he wanted to do, how he was going to do it, and how he was going to win the fight.
Right. Right. So basically, Dwayne, the comparison that Harold is trying to make is that it was a cerebral win for Lomachenko as well as it was for Tank. If we look at the Lomachenko versus Nakatani fight, you can see how, that was a big win for their team. It obviously puts Lomachenko back into the mix of big fights, right? So what they're talking about is a possible fight, which I don't want to jump ahead, but they are talking about another possible fight between Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez after Teofimo Lopez is able to, if he's able to get past George Kambosos. So, it was a big cerebral win for Lomachenko, and I definitely think his strategy was on point for that fight. And did either one of you, were you able to see that fight?
Yeah, I seen some highlights. I didn't actually. I was watching the Gevontay Davis fight, but I did see some highlights on that. I do believe that was just an excellent pick for Lomachenko because he wanted to make a statement, and that statement was when Teofimo Lopez fought this kid. Fought this kid. He had some troubles with that kid. So Lomachenko wanted to have an opportunity to do what he did to show that he can manage this kid differently, even better than what Teofimo Lopez did, and that was part of the strategy. But here's the other good point. That was excellent practice for him because I can't pronounce his name, but the Japanese kid is a very long, lanky guy as well. And when he fights Teofimo Lopez, he's also going to have to fight, although he's not tall like that, but he does fight long. When he fights, when Teofimo Lopez fights Lomachenko, he fights him long, right? He's very rangy when he fights. That's why Lomachenko's having problems with getting those angles on him. So Lomachenko has to practice, right, putting his feet where his feet need to be in order to get the work that he needs to get, right? So that was a good fight on two perspectives. One, to practice that technique, right? And two, to make a statement. I thought that was an excellent matching. And I do think that puts him in a position now that Teofimo Lopez signed with Bob Arum. It just makes sense. You know, Bob Arum's a businessman. It just makes sense that he have his two fighters fight each other, because it comes down to a win-win for him no matter what happens.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you to unpack some of what you just said, I mean, there's a lot of what you just said that has to be unpacked. The first thing is that, Teofimo Lopez does fight. He did fight Lomachenko at distance, and he was able to control that space pretty well in their last fight. I think what seemed to be really well done in this fight with Nakatani and Lomachenko was that Lomachenko was back to his antics, back to the angles that he didn't use in the last fight, which you explained was for good reason, because of the tactics that were deployed. But I think personally that in the fight with Nakatani, he proved that he can get close. He can get past the rangy fighter. He can get into the pocket. He can win the exchanges when there's tie-ups. Like on the tie-ups, Lomachenko was dominating on the tie-ups. He was leading with the straight left hand. He was leading. He was cutting the angles and then leading with the left hand and putting angles up high and low. At one point, he was landing the straight left hand to the body. So really, Lomachenko was doing exactly what he should have done in the Teofimo Lopez card. And that would just be, something I wanted to really make clear to the listeners out there. If you haven't seen the fight, Lomachenko was on point, doing great. He looked a little bit more beefy. He looked a little bit bigger in the torso. Yes, I don't know if either one of you noticed that, but yes, he seemed to be more broad-shouldered, a little bit bigger, and I'm wondering if that's, kind of like a calculated plan in preparation for a possible fight with Teofimo Lopez down the road. But Harold, what were your thoughts on that?
He did look bigger. I believe the Lopez fight, he had some intrepidation about Lopez's power. And when you realize that he really couldn't be hurt, he really wouldn't be knocked down as violently as Lopez had displayed with his other bouts, he decided that I'm not going to have an issue and let me go after him. My opinion, if they fight again, Lopez loses.
Okay. Wow. So is that your prediction? You're predicting? That's your prediction?
Yes. I'll go on record saying that.
Yeah. I wonder
because once you realize mentally that you can't be hurt, or if you are hurt, it's something that just happens, you're not afraid to be hurt.
Yeah.
I believe he won the last 3 rounds. However, Lopez was aggressive the last round, lasting influence in the judge's eyes, and he did win in the last round.
Right.
But if they fight again, I really believe that Lopez will lose because Lomachenko's going to be aggressive from the beginning, and he's not going to have any issue with the skill set or the power. And I think he can win on points.
Yo, Coach D, listen, Harold was just, he just basically predicted that in the next fight between Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko, should they meet, that he predicts that Loma comes out with the victory. What's your thought on that?
You know what? Hey, listen. I understand exactly what Coach Howe's saying, and I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I think, listen, Loma has situations where he's been fighting injured, right? There's been times where he hasn't been 100%, right? And I'm not, right? Also, he's moving up. He has been moving up in weight and fighting bigger guys. So to answer your question about do they see that? Yes, they do see that, and he does have to get a little stronger to fight these bigger guys because those guys are bigger than him. But more importantly, his body, because of this pandemic, had a chance to heal, right? So his body now has a chance to heal. He had a chance to mentally put himself in the right place. Like, so when we talk about training fighters, right? We talk about all three aspects of what we want a fighter to have. And those three aspects, in order to fight at your best at 100%, we need it has to be spiritual, physical, and mental.
That's right, Coach.
He had an opportunity for all of these things to happen for him. His body's rested. He had a chance to look at the film. He's very high. He knows what needs to be done. His team knows what needs to be done. He just got physically stronger. He just had a chance to let his body heal. He has the ability. Spiritually, he's pissed, okay? Because there's been a lot of things said about him. People basically wrote him off. And he's a competitor. He's not going to like that too much, right? So spiritually, mentally, and physically, all these things can happen, right? He can have a Buster Douglas moment. It can happen, I kind of agree with Coach Hal on this one. I'm very interested in seeing that rematch. And I could put some money on Loma. I don't think that's a bad bet.
Well, listen, you two, okay? I'm just going to say this to both of you, that I appreciate that point of view. I really get it. For me, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I think that and I think y'all both know how the Lopez camp and I, we have a very symbiotic relationship. We've had Senior on the cast several times, and I'm sure he's going to come on after he just heard that prediction, and he's going to chop both of you up into little pieces. But he's going to tell you exactly why he doesn't believe that is ever going to happen. And I would tend to believe that that's the case as well. And it is not because I'm connected to them or that I have, an affinity for Teofimo Lopez Jr. and his skill sets. It's because I believe that they met, they both learned what they had to learn. And I believe that the power of Teofimo Lopez wins out at the end between that matchup. Again, I think it ends the same way it ended the first time. And I will tell you why. Because I believe that, it's a fact that Vasily Lomachenko is a smaller guy. He really belongs in a lower weight class. And he's fighting a guy that's busting out at the seams and really should be going up to 140. And it's just not a good look. And it's just, sometimes you meet people and you match up and it just doesn't work out for you for a lot of reasons. So I believe that's how it happens again. And personally, I am fascinated by Lomachenko's work. I'm fascinated by his skill sets, by his ring intelligence. So not taking anything away from Vasily Lomachenko and his masterful skills. I just believe it's a mismatch in weight, and there's some things that you just can't you can't transform. You just can't. You just have to move on. And so that's my prediction.
Coach, here's the big part. So we love Teofimo Lopez and his family. They got a great family. We were in Old Dog boxing in Flemington together when he was preparing for the Comey fight. So of course I want Teofimo Lopez to win, right? That's not what we're saying here. I want nothing but the best of the family. We want them to win. This is what my concern is. One, I believe that the fight is going to be, the game plan is going to be very similar, right? They're going to protect their angles. Teofimo Lopez is going to try to get where he needs to be. He's still going to have a very difficult time getting where he needs to be in order to do the things that he needs to do, right? So he's going to be at the end of that range, right? However, now, and Lomachenko's problem of getting to where he needs to be is his defense is not really set to get past what he needs to get past in order to do what he needs to do, right? So he has a bad defense for that particular style that he needs to fight in order to get where he needs to be. But let's see, right? But this is what could possibly happen, and this is all I'm saying. I'm saying that once this is what I think they see. Okay, this is what I think they believe. They believe once they get Teofimo Lopez in the pocket, right, similar to what Tank did to this boy, right, but get in the pocket. They think that Teofimo Lopez has a liability there. That once we get him there, they believe that he's vulnerable there, right?
Right, I get that.
Okay, so I'm betting that he's going to have more moments there than he did the last fight. He's still going to have a difficult time getting there, but I believe he's going to get there more this time than he did the last time, right?
Okay.
Now, right? But now the question becomes now so that's where that could possibly happen, right? I still believe that Teofimo Lopez has the advantage because listen, that right hand ain't no joke, man. And Teofimo Lopez got quick reflexes. Like it's not just about having power. He has the ability and the timing to land that power. It's not like he has the launching pad to land that missile because his reflexes are good, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is once you get there, right? They're gonna have to really be dressed down defensively to make sure they handle what needs to be handled to get this boy to either give this boy the work that he needs once he get there to show them that, hey, listen, I'm not vulnerable here. Like I can actually rock with you here. Right? They're gonna have to prove that. I always say kick his ass and then beat him back out. Like I don't believe in maneuvering out. I believe whooping his ass out and get him back out to where you need him to be and then start boxing him in again, right?
Right.
So once he get there, you're gonna have to either be defensively solid, right? So you can whoop that ass and whoop his ass back out to where he needs to be, right? If he does that, Teofimo gonna have Lomachenko gonna have a long night, right? And it's not gonna work out well for him. But if he gets there and what they think is so, right? That can get ugly for Teofimo Lopez because once he gets there, all you gotta do is stay there.
Coach, I get that. So all right, so let's take a pause here for a second because Harold, I know Harold's got another appointment. He's got to jump off and hit that other appointment. So we'll stay on and we'll chop up the remainder of this podcast. But Harold, is there something you'd like to say before you shoot out?
Well, you guys are trainers, and I am outside looking in. I don't have the my heart is not with the Lopez camp in that fact. Where I've seen them train and I love them and all of that, which I appreciate, you guys' stance with that. I'm looking at it purely from a style standpoint. So I'm going to stick with my point. Hopefully, Mr. Lopez Sr. will respect my stance where I'm coming from.
I doubt that, but
I do have to take my leave at this time. However, I think our listeners would really enjoy the fact that you and Dwayne are trainers, and your insight is going to be more conducive to the fighters themselves.
right.
Whereas I have a lump umbrella type of estimation of the situation.
Right.
So with that, I'll go ahead and get off this time. But in the future, I will continue to drop that point. But I want that to be in there and let the other fighters understand and see how your heart and your mind and your soul and your camaraderie can help you be successful.
It can also, Harold, askew your viewpoint of what is so and what's going to actually happen. So I
didn't try to say all that.
No, I'm saying that. So I am aware and I am cognizant of the fact that, very, very clear that we don't, because we have love for a fighter or we like a particular fighter, does not cloud our intellectual ability to see what is so and what could possibly happen. And, it really, all these fights come down to the intelligence that's deployed, the game plan that's deployed at this level. It's less about like who you like and all this. It's more about who has the best game plan and who comes in the ring with the most weapons. And so with that, Harold, I want to thank you.
And that's what I can't speak to.
Right.
That's the point. I can't necessarily speak to that.
Well, you can, because you, my friend, are a professional boxing judge and you see it all day long. So, much respect to you and much respect to your opinions and your thoughts about all of it, because your thoughts and opinions are super valuable to the listeners and super valuable to me, man. So thank you. Thanks for being with us tonight. And I'll definitely catch you on the next one, okay?
Okay.
All right. And
good night.
Good night, man. Good night. And Coach D, so check this out. So I just want to chop this up with you, right? I just want to talk to you a little bit about the Lopez and the Kambosos saga. Have you been following that?
Repeat the fight. Who? What fighters, Coach?
The Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos fight, which was supposed to happen, and of course the fight was postponed until sometime in mid-August due to the fact that Teofimo Lopez has come down with COVID-19, which at this point is late and old news. But it is, in fact, still news. He's probably about a week and a half into his diagnosis, and I sure hope that he's feeling well. But what I wanted to ask you about is, do you think that is going to play a factor in the next upcoming fight?
Yeah, I think again that this hit Kambosos is really motivated. You can obviously see that he wants this fight in a major way. I do think that when we're talking about events, I just believe that I think there's a speed advantage there for Teofimo Lopez that is going to go. I think there's a speed and a reflex advantage there for Teofimo Lopez that is going to create the biggest problem for him. Because like I said, not only does he has power, the reflexes are there. I think that's I think that's the biggest problem that Kambosos is going to have, and I don't think he realizes that until. I don't think he's going to realize that until he gets in there. So he's going to have to make some serious adjustments, rhythm and timing adjustments to kind of offset that. Some rhythm and timing adjustments to kind of offset that timing, right? And so I'm curious to see. Look, I'm just so happy that these fights are being made. So here's the beautiful thing about it. Boxing's back, and these fighters have to fight one another now. No, it's not going to be no more of this. Listen, they might get away with some of it. They're getting away with it in 2021, but they are starting to fight each other now.
Right.
But in 2022, there's not going to be room for these cats to hide from one another. These fights are going to be made.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we're going to find out what's so. Okay. And
That's true.
And this is going to be a beautiful thing because this is what boxing says. So, Gevontay Davis took that step. Devin Haney took that step. Now, Teofimo Lopez took that step before Lomachenko, and now he's taking another. Lomachenko just proved this point that, hey, you guys might have forgot about me here, but I'm still here, right? and so these things are happening, and I'm excited about that. These fights are really, really very interesting fights to see, right? And
so do you think
the margin of error is very small for the guy who's on the A side. That's what I'm trying to say.
So, Coach, let me ask you a question. Do you think that George Kambosos is similar to like a Mario Barrios as it relates to Gevontay Davis? Do you think they brought this guy in so that Teofimo Lopez can make easy work of him, or you think this guy is a bona fide, like he's like I don't know what the odds are, but it'd be very interesting to know because, looking at the film of George Kambosos, obviously he's coming with a certain heart. He's coming with certain convictions and certain questions that he'd like to answer or he'd like Teofimo Lopez to answer. So we know that. We know he's coming to the table with the right questions for Mr. Teofimo Lopez to answer. But I'm asking you, do you think it's a setup or do you think it's a bona fide, like this is a let's rock fight?
This is definitely but this kid belongs. This kid is not, he belongs. He's a legitimate, obviously when they take a peek at fighters, they're looking for some kind of angle. But, we have done this, you and I have done this many times, where people have thought they've seen something and what they thought was so wasn't so, right?
Yeah, shock the world, baby.
So this, what we can't deny is that this kid belongs, right? And this is a very challenging fight for Teofimo Lopez and his family.
Right.
These guys are coming out here trying to fight the best.
Right.
Like they're not playing, right? So, but again, the margin of error for the people on the A side with these fights is small, So these are very interesting fights, and I just salute all of these guys: Devin Haney, Gevontay Davis, Teofimo Lopez, for these guys making these fights. This is what we all want. This is what fight fans want. We want the rematch with Lomachenko. We want these fights. We want to see these fights. And now they're doing it, okay? They're doing it. They're giving the fans, they're taking these shots. These are very interesting fights to see. And this Teofimo Lopez fighting the guy Kambosos is going to be a good fight.
Right.
It's definitely going to be something the fans want to tune in to see, because this is a legitimate, qualified, professional fight here. The margin of error for the A side is very small.
Right. And Coach, listen, with that, I just want to thank you for being on the program today and chopping this up with us. It's been a pleasure as always, man. I know I'll probably talk to you tomorrow in the AM, but I just wanted to, again, thank you for being on the broadcast. And I just want to thank the listeners who have been tuning in. Please remember, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere visually, please make sure you hit the like button, make sure you share it, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notifications down below, right down there, okay? Hit them. We appreciate that. We appreciate you sharing the podcast, sharing the good news of the Boxing Breakdown. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or any Google Podcasts or any of the podcast platforms, please feel free to share the podcast with those in the boxing community. And I want to thank you for listening tonight again. And with that, we are out. Peace and love. Thanks, Coach. Talk to you later, bro.
Okay, Coach. Okay, Coach. Love you. And we'll talk a little bit later.
Okay, B.
Bye-bye.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.